I've broken down the list of things into a slightly more vanish version. The most immediate mechanics of the kinds that you talked about, that you asked about, specifically the IIEE stuff and the relationship stuff. In those cases, when you have identifiable instrumentation, like roll this number or less, or anything like that, draw 5 cards, the number of spades you get is the number of successes, or, whatever. But whenever you have some kind of instrumentation of that kind, then we're talking about something where something on the device is corresponding very directly, usually, to something that happens in the fiction. This much damage is a very obvious example. And there are lots and lots of others, but it's very representational. That's what I'm trying to get at. There we're talking about representational mechanics, even a certain initiative outcome on the initiative roll. That's how fast you're about to be relative to everybody else. We can talk about representational mechanics, especially at a very fine grain, a lot of the time. The thing I want to get at here is that ultimately we're talking about this successful performance of a series of operations. So, a bunch of successful operations in terms of us looking back on it immediately or even currently and knowing what is happening. And even if in the middle of it it's provisional, we know that we're about to find out once the operations get done. And that's really what I want to focus on right now, are mechanics which are very representational of, a thing on a die or a procedure at the table or something you look up or anything where you are dealing with an instrument. And what the instrument says, you then basically translate almost directly into some fictional event, outcome, degree of effect, or something.
Right.
So for both IIEE and for relationships, because you were asking about relationship mechanics of this kind, representational mechanics for relationships. Right. And if we are looking at any role-playing game, you will find that it is possible for the requirements of IIEE to be met and for relationships to be operative in the fiction. I can't think of any role-playing game where either of those is impossible. Mm-hmm. I can think of plenty of them in which they are murky, or people are going to be a little confused or have to make up a rule of some kind in order to fill in a gap. In fact, I'd venture to say a lot of us are pretty skilled at doing that, unfortunately. But, and I'm talking about a gap of not knowing what to do in the procedure. Mm-hmm. So, having been experienced with that kind of thing, with systems that aren't that good at actually helping us do these things, and either getting really, really used to filling them in ourselves just with words, outside of whatever mechanical instrumentation may be involved, and also being used to valuing those things in play, right? Effective, colorful, causal action, and relationships in the fiction. I mean, we all want both of those in any story. Even if the story is about whether we can get the cake made in time for, the emperor's birthday or something. We can have all the colorful IIE-based action we want, and we can have relationships. And if we don't have those things, in fact, why play? Yeah. So what I'm saying is that there's the first problem is that we may be used to instrumentation that simply isn't going to fill the bill, and so we have to basically play in parallel, where we're carrying out all the instrumentation on one track, and we're talking and actually making other stuff happen on another track, but the tracks don't touch. Right. That's what a lot of people are used to, and that is something we have to remember is not the legacy that you and I right here are trying to solve.